myself. I don't want to be a leader. It's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone. Jew, Gentile, black man, white man. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. This world is real.
Okay, go ahead. Answer that question. Were you the oldest of your group?
Oh, no, there were others that were older. I was roughly 26 years old.
Okay.
Married. Had a little son back at home. He was 6 months old. And as far as being the oldest, no, there were several that were older than me. But I was a first lieutenant. I was in the infantry. I was in the jungle in Vietnam, and I was in charge of 3rd Platoon. Now, every company typically has maybe 130 or maybe 135 men, and it's divided up into 3 platoons, and each platoon is authorized to have 43 men, but we never had more than 35, and once we got shot up down to 14 men. And so we've got these 3 platoons, and each platoon has 3 squads. And each squad is commanded by a sergeant. And each squad has 2 machine gunners, 2 assistant machine gunners, 2 radio men, and a squad leader and a lieutenant. And so these companies are part of a battalion, and a battalion actually has 4 companies. You got Alpha Company, Bravo Company, Charlie Company, Delta Company. We were with the Alpha Company. And the way it works is you got your battalion headquarters that's out there in the jungle, and it's called an LZ. And every LZ, that stands for landing zone, that pertains to where a battalion headquarters is located. And they're roughly 10, maybe 12 miles apart, so that they can kind of have supporting artillery for each other. So our tactics, the way our outfit operated, were located at this battalion headquarters. It was LZ Professional. Later it got its name changed and got moved out further out into the jungle and became known as LZ Marianne. But these 4 companies, one company stays on the hill and supports security for the hill. You got a bunker line, you got bunkers, and that's where the artillery is, that's where the mortars are, that's where the battalion headquarters is. The other 3 companies are either airlifted out into the jungle, or else they walk out into the jungle, and then they fight their way back, and they're out in the jungle for a total of approximately 15 days. And so you spend 15 days out there in the jungle, and then you spend 5 days on the hill. But that's not exactly normal, because one time we were out there for 25 days. And they felt so sorry for us, they said, we're sending you some new washed uniforms, just take the ones off you got and burn them. And so anyway, that's what happened. But while you're out there in the jungle, approximately every 3 days, you get a resupply by helicopter. And we love those helicopters. I mean, we couldn't have fought the war without those helicopters. They're setting ducks, and they're very dangerous. They're big targets, but they come in and they hover and kick off the sea rations, kick off the letters, your replacement ammunition, stuff like that, and they're gone, and then you keep on operating. So our job was to interdict enemy soldiers that were coming down south from North Vietnam, and everybody says the Ho Chi Minh Trail. There were probably a dozen or more Ho Chi Minh trails. They had them coming down through Cambodia. They had them coming down through Vietnam. And the soldiers that were coming down, their job was to get to the south where the capital was and try to overtake the capital. Our job was to try to stop them from getting there. So that's basically the way it was in the infantry. We were not mechanized. We didn't have APCs. We didn't have tanks. We were just boots on the ground soldiers going through the jungle. The enemy was looking for us, we're looking for them. It was a big cat and mouse game.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite an introduction. Let's go back to high school. What year did you graduate from high school?
1961, Snowflake, Arizona, up in northern Arizona. And it was a little high school, and it actually served all the little communities around, such as Snowflake, Taylor, Overgard, Heber, Sholo. And so all of them got bussed in. And if you went to Snowflake Union High School back in the 1960s and 50s, you knew everybody on the mountain and what color the car their parents drove and what color car their dog was and all that sort of thing. So it was just kind of a great big happy family.
Yeah. So that was before Vietnam was going. So at what point in your life did you start hearing about Vietnam, and then did you feel an obligation to either enlist or were you drafted?
Oh no, I had no interest in enlisting. I had no interest in war games. I actually went to ASU, Arizona State University, and it was mandatory to, at that time, go to ROTC. And of course, they were giving us updates, and the war was in its infancy stage. Advisors were in Vietnam, and it was low key. And finally, when the war erupted during the Johnson administration, it escalated and it became a great big, shall I say, military action, and it grew and grew. But in those days, there was a system where if you enlisted for 4 years, you would not become an 11 Bravo. You would not be in the infantry. So my cousin and I, we went from Snowflake, jumped in my 1966 Chevrolet Impala. We go down to Phoenix. We enlisted for 4 years. We enlisted in the Army Security Agency. And this was an elite organization. It was a big spy outfit. And they trained us for 6 months. My job after basic training was to learn how to do Morse code and how to run rhombic antennas, be stationed in Germany to copy troop movements from Russia. It was a desk job, weekends off, tour Europe. My wife could be with me, wonderful. So at one point, however, my commanding officer came and says, PFC Papa, you kind of got your head screwed on a little bit straight, and you show what we're looking for in terms of leadership. We would like to fill out the papers for you, if you'll agree, and you'll go to officer candidate school and you'll graduate. And it doesn't matter which school you go to, whether it's infantry or tanks or artillery or engineers. When you graduate and become a second lieutenant, you will not be commissioned into the service per se. You'll be commissioned back into military intelligence. Okay, fine. So I went to infantry OCS and I graduated. And they called me in, they said, Lieutenant Papa, be advised that we're losing a whole lot of lieutenants in Vietnam. You've been trained in the infantry, you will stay in the infantry. So that's what I did, even though they knew very well my orders were to go back to military intelligence. But the very thing that I was trying to avoid, I got sucked right into the middle of it. I'm not going to say that was terribly bad because I did learn some lessons. I mean, the hard way. You're dealing with all this death and destruction and all these surprises, and you got to make split-second decisions. Now, there was one other little interesting thing that pertained to me. Before I even joined the military, I volunteered to serve my church. And I actually went to put in my papers. I belonged to the LDS Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I didn't know where they were going to send me. They sent me to Argentina. So I learned how to speak Spanish, and I'm trying to preach the gospel to anybody to listen. Now I'm in Vietnam, and I'm trying to shoot anybody I see. Now that's a pretty big difference.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm just listening to you, and how you tell it is so detailed. So you're a first lieutenant now.
A first lieutenant. Now, when you graduate, you become a second lieutenant.
Right.
And if you stay alive, you don't get your head shot off, after 12 months to the day, you become a first lieutenant. And then after that, you have to re-up, and it usually takes about 4 years to make captain. I had no interest in being a lifer, staying in for the rest of my life, making a career. I did my duty, got out, came home, my wife and I were raising our family. And 15 years later, here comes this movie by Oliver Stone, and it was called Platoon, Academy Award winning, Best Picture of the Year, 1986. And I said, Debbie, I know about platoons, let's go watch this movie. So we did, and I was so shocked. It was unbelievable. They didn't even have the uniforms right. They didn't have the order of battle correct. The entire thing was over the top. It was exaggerated. It didn't even have, it was all about drugs and all about internal conflicts. And it just was so hyper. I was so upset and disgusted. I said, I can do better than that, and that's why I wrote my book.